This is the HAN Network, the leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in Southwestern Connecticut.
This is your coffee break on the HAN Network.
It's Thursday, September 24th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Chaplinsky, bringing you this morning's headlines, including the son of a missing couple appearing in court today, and two men in Stratford fleeing from police after failing to stop in a construction zone. We'll also have a look at high school sports with John Kovach today, and a look back on this day in history with Donald Ang. Later this hour, we'll be taking a look at the front pages of our HAN Network newspapers out today. But first, on to today's news. 27-year-old Kyle Navin, son of missing couple Jeffrey and Jeanette Navin, is set to be arraigned today at 2 in the afternoon before Judge William Garfinkel in Bridgeport for a federal grand jury indictment on one count of possession of a firearm by an unlawful user of any controlled substance. Federal officials announced the grand jury indictment on September 17th. Navin was previously arrested by the FBI on September 8th and taken into custody on the federal firearms charge by criminal complaint. Federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies on August 7th began investigating the disappearance of his parents, Jeffrey and Jeanette of Easton. A blue 2003 Dodge Ram pickup truck belonging to the Navins was located by the state police August 9th in a commuter lot in Westport off exit 42 of the Merritt Parkway. The passenger side window of the pickup truck reportedly had been broken out, and there were shards of glass on the ground. Investigators conducted a court-authorized search of Navin's Aldine Avenue residence in Bridgeport on August 13th and seized 2 firearms and numerous rounds of ammunition from his bedroom, as alleged in the criminal complaint. Law enforcement officers conducted a second search of Navin's residence on August 19th and located and seized items they said were indicative of substance abuse, including heroin brand-stamped glassine baggies, heroin residue, needles, and some prescription bottles. Investigators also recovered from Navin's residence a receipt from a firearms shooting range that was issued August 5th. The complaint further alleges that investigators conducted a court-authorized search of Navin's cell phone and reviewed numerous text messages that discuss his use of heroin, oxycodone, and Xanax. Navin has been detained since his arrest on September 8th. For updates on that story, check back at eastoncourier.com. Well, 2 Waterbury men are facing charges after Stratford police said the men fled from a traffic stop and crashed the vehicle they were in. Police said that 22-year-old Kevin Savage and 19-year-old Anthony Dancy, both of Waterbury, were in a vehicle on Main Street near Sikorsky Airport on Tuesday when they failed to stop for construction near the airport. Police said when the officer working the construction detail stopped the vehicle, Savage handed the officer paperwork for the car and a license that did not belong to him. When the officer asked Savage about his identity, police said he fled. Officers pursued the vehicle and found the car was crashed into a tree near Minor Cross. Police said the men ran away on foot, and police located Dancy walking on Main Street, while Savage was found a short distance away. Savage was charged with engaging in pursuit, reckless driving, disobeying an officer's signal, evading responsibility, operating without a license, having a weapon in a motor vehicle, and criminal impersonation, as well as possession of burglary tools. Dancy was charged with having a weapon in a motor vehicle and interfering. Savage was ordered held on a $50,000 bond, while Dancy was held on a $25,000 bond. Well, on an emotional day, the Ridgefield High girls cross-country team honored a recent teammate by sweeping 4 opponents Tuesday afternoon in Trumbull. The Ridgefield Tigers dedicated the race to Carrie Dupuis, a senior captain on last year's team who died in a plane crash on Sunday in Morrisville, New York. Fellow Ridgefield teen Ryan Adams, 18 years old, who graduated from St. Luke's, also died in that crash. The Ridgefield runners wrote Carrie's first name on their cheeks and wore ribbons in their hair. According to Ridgefield head coach John Goetz, he said she was very happy, outgoing, and an inclusive person. She made friends with everyone on the team, whether they were her senior classmates or new freshmen. They said she always seemed to have the right words to make people happy and feel good about themselves. She'd really loved and cared about everyone around her. Running in honor of Dupuy, Ridgefield defeated New Canaan, St. Joseph, Trinity Catholic, and Wilton, capturing 5 of the top 7 individual spots in the race and improving its record 7-0. The Ridgefield boys soccer team dedicated their recent game to another Ridgefield teen who died over the weekend in a car accident in upstate Connecticut. 19-year-old Ryan Megan was a member of Ridgefield State co-champion squad in 2013 and one of the Yukon students killed in a car accident last Friday near that campus in Stores, where Megan was a sophomore. In other news, with the recent sighting of humpback and beluga whales in Long Island Sound, the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection said there is concern that the reaction and behavior of boaters could endanger a whale. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is reminding all boaters that marine mammals are protected by the Federal Marine Mammal Protection Act. Boaters are advised to follow whale watching guidelines to help minimize chances of harassing or injuring whales and violating federal law. The guidelines apply to all large whales from Maine to Virginia, except North Atlantic right whales. It is illegal to approach a right whale within 500 yards, which is about 1,500 feet, unless granted specific exemption or authorization. Well, the longtime housekeeper at a Judy Point home in Westport has been charged with stealing jewelry valued at nearly $385,000 from the home. The Sanford Advocate reports that 57-year-old Martha Lopez of Norwalk was arrested Tuesday on an outstanding warrant and charged with first-degree larceny. She had been the housekeeper for the theft victim for the last 18 years, police said. The theft of jewelry, primarily from 2 safes in the Judy Point home, was reported to police last May 25th and investigated by detectives assisted by an investigator from AIG Insurance. According to the report, 35 pieces of jewelry were stolen from the residence over the last year, with a total value of $384,000. During the investigation, police said they learned the codes to the safes were stolen from the homeowner's day planner. The detective contacted Connecticut Gold and Silver of Wilton and learned that at least 20 items of jewelry had been pawned by the suspected thief, later identified as Lopez, between July 2012 and last December. Photographs of the pawned jewelry were provided by Connecticut Gold and Silver of Wilton, and the victim identified 31 items as having been stolen from the residence. Bond was set at $150,000, and Lopez is scheduled to appear October 5th in State Superior Court in Norwalk. Now, filling in for Rob Adams today is John Kovach, and he's going to tell us a little bit about this Thursday's weather. It's beautiful so far, John.
It's going to stay that way, Kate. Sunny all day, no chance of precipitation, high just below 80. They're saying 79 in Shelton. Tonight down into the mid-50s. Again, no chance of precipitation, mostly clear. Partly cloudy day on Friday, getting up into the mid-70s, but again, no chance of precipitation. Just a beautiful and dry start to the fall.
All right. Thanks, John. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have Donald Eng's Look Back in This Day in History. John's also going to give us an update on high school sports, and we have a lot more news coming up after this.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark Building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2 and more are in stock and ready to go at the dock shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The dock shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The dock shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
And we're back with this Thursday, September 24th edition of Your Coffee Break. I'm Kate Chaplinsky, and it's time now to throw it over to Donald Ang's Look Back on This Day in History.
It was a television program designed around young people's brief attention span that ironically became known as a show for older folks. But first, 1789, the U.S. Congress passes the Judiciary Act, which creates the office of the U.S. Attorney General and the federal judiciary system. It also orders the composition of the Supreme Court of the United States. 1948, mechanic Soichiro Honda, working out of an improvised shack with 12 employees, begins selling improvised motorbikes with war surplus 50cc radio generator engines. By 1964, the Honda Motor Company was the largest motorcycle maker in the world. It is today the largest engine manufacturer in existence. 1979, CompuServe launches the first consumer internet service, which features the first public electronic mail service. And finally, 1968, the world first heard this. The iconic 60-minute stopwatch was first heard on this date, 1968. Like most news magazine shows, 60 Minutes is 1 hour long. But owing to the short attention span of the TV generation, producers decided to split the show into 3 15-minute segments focusing on a variety of topics. Unlike its most famous competitor, 2020, and most traditional local and national news programs, the 60-minute journalists never share the screen with or speak to each other on camera at any time. Didn't know that, did you? That's your look back in history, and I'm Donald Ang. It was.
All right. Well, now it is time to throw it over to John Kovach, who's filling in for Rob today, going to give us a look at local sports. And I know, John, we're going to be getting out there later this evening for a game.
Boys soccer tonight on the HAN network as Fairfield Ludlow, the defending FCAC champs, host the Wilton Warriors in a battle of contenders. That's at 6 o'clock live from Taft Field in Fairfield. That'll be live on the HAN network, WiltonBulletin.com, FairfieldSun.com, FCAC.net. All the regular season broadcasts are free of charge. Ludlow was unbeaten in FCAC play last fall. They've started this year 3-0-1, outscoring opponents 7-0 since we're talking soccer. Wilton was a playoff team last year as well, going 8-5-3 during the regular season. Like Ludlow, the Warriors have gotten off to a strong start in 2015, winning 3 of their first 4 games, including a 1-0 victory over Ward on Tuesday. One other boys soccer game today, Danbury visiting Trumbull, 4 p.m. kickoff. Girls soccer today, 4 p.m. starts for St. Joseph at Danbury, New Canaan at Trumbull, West Hill at Trinity Catholic, Darien at Stamford, and Norwalk at Bridgeport Central. Kicking off at 7 p.m., Ridgefield at McMahon, and Fairfield Ward at Wilton. Field hockey this afternoon. West Hill visits Darien at 4. New Canaan visits Staples at 4. Norwalk travels to Trumbull to take on St. Joseph at 4. Wilton visits Greenwich at 4:30, and Fairfield Ludlow travels to Ridgefield. That a 5:30 start. Girls volleyball, Bethel versus Stamford. That's an interconference game, 4 o'clock start. Same for Brookfield at Danbury. Trinity Catholic visits Jonathan Law. Bridgeport Central takes on Bullard Havens Tech in a cross-city matchup. Greenwich visits West Hill and Stamford. Massac travels to Ridgefield. And Bunnell of Stratford takes on St. Joseph in Trumbull. 2 girls swimming and diving meets this afternoon. Staples at Greenwich, 3:30 p.m. New Canaan at Danbury, 4 o'clock. Saturday will be in Greenwich as the Darien Blue Wave visits the Greenwich Cardinals. That's a 4 p.m. kickoff for this week's football game of the week. FCAC Tailgate warms things up at 1 p.m. with the total breakdown of the game on FCAC Game Day at 2. Then all the action live on the HAN network. The closest race right now might be happening, Kate, at FCAC.net, where we've started the Athletes of the Week poll, one male, one female. So far, more than 1,600 votes have been cast. Danny Hoffman of Trumbull football leads the boys race with 206 votes, ahead of Jack Niffin from Darien Soccer, who has 188. But in the girls race, where 962 votes have been cast, Kate Fiore, girls soccer, Darien, leads Ann Amaker, girls soccer, Staples. 5 votes right now.
Wow,
separates the two. Winner of both of those polls will be recognized on FCAC Game Day Saturday live from Greenwich on HAN.network with sports. John Kovach.
All right. Thanks, John. Well, getting back to some of today's news, Pope Francis will arrive in New York today and will have a full schedule of events across the city on Friday, September 25th, including afternoon mass at Madison Square Garden. The MTA is suggesting those who can avoid traveling to New York City during this time to do so, since many street closures near those locations will result in traffic congestion and pedestrian diversions. Customers taking the New York City subway, Metro North Railroad, and the Long Island Railroad for papal events should buy round-trip Metro cards or train tickets in advance and expect some crowding. MTA Metro North Railroad will have additional trains and crews stationed in Grand Central Terminal. Metro North will run a normal schedule today, September 24th. On Friday, September 25th, the railroad will operate 3 additional inbound trains, leaving Poughkeepsie on the Hudson Line at 10:37 a.m., leaving Southeast on the Harlem Line at 10:08 a.m., and leaving Fairfield Metro on the New Haven Line at 11 a.m. Some earlier trains will be combined and canceled to provide crews and equipment for those trains. Details on those service changes will be available at mta.info/MNR. Well, according to the Associated Press, 2 Connecticut residents are facing charges for allegedly putting 3 children in the trunk of the car for a drive. Police said 34-year-old John David Harvey and 19-year-old Adriana Norden, both of Torrington, were stopped at a convenience store earlier this month when customers called police after seeing 3 children climb into the trunk, which was then shut behind them. 2 children were 10 and 1 was 8 years old. They were reportedly unharmed. The Republican American reports with 5 people already in the vehicle for a roughly 20-mile drive to Waterbury, there was no room in the car for the children. Harvey's lawyer says his client made, quote, a bad decision. That's big understatement. The defendants are charged with risk of injury and breach of peace. Both are free on $1,000 bonds. Well, as the New Canaan Coalition met on September 15th as part of its coordination of local efforts to combat substance abuse and prevent overdose deaths, the role of parents came up continually. New Canaan Chief of Police Leon Krolikowski told the group of almost 20 coalition member guests that, quote, we know kids use prescription drugs that they obtain from parents or others, and they use illegal drugs, he said. Also, most arrests of youth having parties and serving alcohol are where parents are not paying attention, he said. He said parents are leaving their kids home and the kids are left responsible. He was quick to point out that alcohol is still the #1 drug in New Canaan and you can die from it. Parents should be seeing behaviors that signal a problem, he said, including arrests. Some parents just don't get that, according to Krolikowski. Coalition Chairman Jacqueline DeLuey mentioned a couple of times during the meeting that parent behavior has a significant effect on children's behavior. She said that kids in New Canaan report being very stressed, and after dry periods with no drinking because of a sports team obligation or a stretch of intense schoolwork, kids will celebrate after work like they see their parents do. Adding to the problem, according to a coalition member, is that some local parents feel pressure to allow kids to comply with drinkers. Some parents struggle, they said, with how much drinking is okay or too much, and and these parents are the hardest to reach, a speaker said. When it comes to the community, schools and parents educating youths about the dangers of substance abuse, many in the room agreed with Krolikowski, who said that getting to the kids late in high school is too late. Middle school, they said, however, is not too early. Others pointed to programs that target parents of children aged 3 to 10 so parents can learn how to deliver messages about risky behaviors throughout the formative years. There's a lot more on that story at ncadvertiser.com. Before I throw it back to John for another look at today's beautiful weather, we just want to point out that the weather has been very calm in Connecticut recently. However, newsrooms across the state received an alert this morning that a tsunami warning had been issued for parts of the state. It was pretty clear that it was a mistake, and the National Weather Service said that that was supposed to be a test that was accidentally transmitted as a warning. They said as part of a routine monthly test issued by the National Weather Service National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska, the NWS New York office sent a tsunami test warning message over weather radio. The transmission was sent to local emergency alert systems for possible redistribution. There is no tsunami threat at this time, so everyone can rest easy. John? Whew.
That's
not something we typically have to worry about in this area.
I don't know that I was even aware you could have a tsunami on the East Coast. I assume you could, and I assume there's some disaster movie that shows some apocalyptic tsunami.
Sure.
But good to know. Perhaps had they labeled it test,
right,
we might not have to do this story.
Yeah, I'm sure it didn't make too many people concerned. I'm sure there was a lot of head scratching, though, that was going on.
Oh, I'm certain of that.
Yeah. But how's today's weather looking?
It's not a tsunami.
Good.
It's beautiful. High just below 80, 79, mostly sunny today. Gets a little bit cooler tonight, obviously, down to the mid-50s, partly cloudy. They're saying cloudy tomorrow, high in the mid-70s, but there's no chance of precipitation in that foreseeable future.
All right, great, John. Well, we're going to take another quick break, come back with some more news, and later in the hour, John Kovach is going to join me over here, and we're going to talk front pages of all our community newspapers this week. That's coming up after this.
Highcote Rockefeller Estate is Westchester County's top cultural attraction and is now open for the season. Don't miss out. Go online to hudsonvalley.org to plan your visit. Take a drive out to beautiful Sleepy Hollow, New York, and enjoy Highcote's stunning architecture, breathtaking gardens, expansive art galleries, and commanding Hudson River views. From world-class art by Picasso and Warhol to expertly tended gardens, there's something for everyone. Highcote Rockefeller Estate, a National Trust for Historic Preservation landmark. Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Panby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
Have no fear. HAN Network's Fast Frights movie contest is here. Can your film make the cut? Submit your 3-minute scary movie today for a chance to win a DJI Phantom 3 drone. Sponsored by Milford Photo. The only thing to fear is missing the deadline.
And we're back with this Thursday edition of your Coffee Break. I'm Kate Chaplinsky, bringing you more of the headlines around the region today. In Shelton, Chris Clouet has been named the new superintendent of schools. He will start that new position in January. The announcement was made at Wednesday night's Board of Education meeting. He will be replacing Freeman Burr, who said he was leaving following a long budget battle with Mayor Mark Loretti. Clouet said he has most recently served as superintendent of schools in Terryville, a town north of Waterbury, and he announced he was leaving that position in June. Well, in Ridgefield, about 60 residents told a consultant working on a $356,000 grant-funded study of the Branchville area that they envision a quaint New England restaurant district replete with dining opportunities and bars. The architecture would be traditional, they said, and the scale would be small and walkable. And that happened at the first workshop session of the 3-day session on Branchville, which was held last week at the Ridgefield Public Library. All residents, property owners, business owners, and other stakeholders were invited to attend the workshop. The basement room at the library was full of large engineer's drawings of the Branchville area or Route 7, and a large color-coded map sat on each table. The residents used an electronic voting system using handheld clickers like television remote controls to express what type of development, architecture, and streetscaping they wanted for Branchville. There was also an online survey, and it included questions on how tall buildings should be and how much parking on and off street there should be. Several hundred residents completed the extensive survey. The firm was hired under a grant managed by the Western Connecticut Council of Governments, which is a regional planning agency that includes Ridgefield. Branchville is a small commercial strip along Route 7 with a train station that has been called a second town center. The task force foresees a mix of uses for Branchville, including restaurants, retail, affordable housing, and offices. The development around the train station would coincide with improvements made to the railroad line. The end result, beyond a revived commercial center around the station and more train use, will probably be what some planners have called more access to state and federal grants. Well, Nicholas Bellantoni, who is an emeritus state archaeologist, is presenting a program on the history and mythologies of vampires in Connecticut, with a focus on remains found in the Jewett City area. This special seasonal program, sponsored by the Naugatuck Valley Audubon Society and the Kellogg Environmental Center, will take place on Tuesday, October 20th at 6:30 in the evening at the Kellogg Environmental Center in Derby. Bellantoni will share his knowledge of Connecticut history and cultural activity of long ago. You can learn how research and study of early colonial activities developed the belief of vampire behavior and the ongoing fear of the undead. Specifically related to the study of remains in Connecticut, stories will be told of strong adults wasting away and dying for unexplained reasons. Was it due to departed family members consuming their energy and blood? What else could be possible? And did these stories help build the image of Bram Stoker's Dracula? Bellantoni will spend the evening taking you on a journey into the past to see what the bones, graves, and history tell us about the myth and fact of each situation. The program is offered free of charge, but donations are requested to help support further educational programs. You can call to register as space is limited. The Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection's Kellogg Environmental Center is located at 500 Hawthorne Avenue in Derby. For further information, you can call 203-734-2513. Well, nothing beats the smell of fresh-baked apple pie in the brisk New England air, and that's what keeps Trumbull residents coming back year after year to the Christ Church Tashua's Apple Festival, which celebrates its 39th anniversary this weekend from 10 to 5 on Saturday and from 11 to 4 on Sunday. The big headliner is the apple pies, and they may be purchased in two forms, either baked fresh the night before or for the two-day event, or prepared weeks in advance by church volunteers and frozen to be reheated whenever someone wants to enjoy it. The Episcopal Church, located at 5170 Madison Avenue on the historic property of the Tashua Burial Ground, has been baking 50 to 60 frozen pies per week since mid-August in preparation for this weekend's event. Well, John, I'm hoping that they'll have some good weather. I'm going to throw it back to John Kovach for one last look at today's weather.
Take a look outside.
Looks pretty good.
Look around. That's pretty much how it's going to be the next couple of days.
All right.
Up to almost 80 today, sunny. Mid to low to mid 50s tonight, partly cloudy. Some clouds tomorrow, high into low 70s. Going to be a perfect night for football. We got football coming up on Saturday.
That's right. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, John Kovach, who is our editorial director, is going to be joining me to go over some of the front pages of our HAN Network newspapers that hit newsstands today. So that is coming up after this.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2 and more are in stock and ready to go at the dock shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The dock shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The dock shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
And we're back with this Thursday edition of your coffee break. And since it is Thursday, that means that our papers are out on newsstands today. And I'm joined right now by our editorial director, John Kovach, who was just sitting behind the scenes on the controls before and helping us out with weather and sports. But John, how'd Wednesday go? That's our production day.
It went fine. It went, we're doing some new things, rolling out some different initiatives, and I think it's going to just help improve the products on both the broadcast level and in print as this moves out. And I think we're seeing some good stuff in the print editions that hit the mailboxes and newsstands today.
All right, that's great. What are you looking at right now?
I'm looking at the Wilton Bulletin, where they have appointed a new selectman to replace one who stepped down over other commitments. The second car chase in less than 3 weeks in Wilton. And just a stunning photo by Brian Hafley of a young boy on a carousel. And Brian just takes such beautiful photos. This from the Wilton Rotary Carnival. It's 26th year this year. That's hard to say.
Yeah, that is hard to say. Well, I'm taking a look at the nearby town, Ridgefield Press, right now. And it's been a really difficult week in Ridgefield, a very sad week, as over this past weekend, they lost 3 young people, all around the same age. One student, one former Ridgefield High student, died in a car accident up in the Yukon area, and then 2 students from Colgate University, Ryan Megan and Catherine Dupuis, died in a plane crash in Morrisville, New York. And that story is still developing. I know the Ridgefield Press just shared a story recently that Catherine did have her pilot's license and was allowed to fly with passengers, which yesterday there were some inaccurate reports done. Yes. I believe NBC Connecticut and some others had the wrong information that she was not allowed to fly with passengers. So that is not the case.
Right. It was the it was not the most up-to-date information.
Right. The FAA hadn't updated
Yeah,
the
what I read
information.
about that, really, the question that I was raised with is if this is overseen by a national agency, how do we have it that people are given paper licenses and yet the national agency doesn't reflect it in its records?
That's a good question.
The important thing is that 3 lives were ended just far, far too early.
Right, and we should say, I mean, one of the photos is the Ridgefield High girls cross country team who are embracing after they beat all their opponents, and they did that in memory of Catherine because she was one of their former teammates. And I know the boys soccer team did the same with Ryan Megan. And Ryan Adams, he attended St. Luke's.
Yes.
But so it's just a very sad time in Ridgefield. On a happier note, though, there is a pumpkin weigh-off this weekend in Ridgefield, which is, a fun event. And there's a weigh-in of the largest pumpkin.
How large they are.
Well,
not
last
like way
year,
off.
a Ridgefield resident had an 800-pound pumpkin.
Wow.
The
That's a lot of
800-pound
pie.
pumpkin in the room.
That's a lot of pie.
What else, John, are you looking
Well,
at?
I'm looking at Trumbull. They're also having a farm event this weekend, the 17th Annual Scarecrow Festival at Plasko's Farm. That's on Daniels Farm Road on Sunday. Also, Trumbull High alums remembering a former teacher, coach, and band director, Ted McAndrew, who passed away August 6th at the age of 71. And a story that I've got to try to track down for Yankee fishermen. Kathleen Gibson, a Trumbull High School teacher, spending some time doing research on a vessel in the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, nice.
So I've got to try to
Definitely, that'd
track
be a
that
great
story
Yankee
down.
fisherman story. Well, I'm taking a look at the Reading pilot, and Christopher Burns just took some great photos at the Pudd'nhead fundraiser at the Mark Twain Library, which honored Ben Stiller was one of the guests there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So some great pictures there, drew some big names. And some other Reading news this week is the big police chase that ended at the Reading Hotel, went through Ridgefield, Wilton, Reading. So they finally caught the guy, though.
I have a hard enough time driving some of those roads. I don't know how you lead police on a high-speed chase.
And in fact, I
there.
believe the police put out the spikes, and the suspect kept driving on 2 flat tires. So,
Well, once you've made one bad decision, I
You
guess
might
the
as
rest
well
just
keep
seem
going.
to come. Taking a look at the Milford Mirror, and here's a good decision and one that I harp on to the point that you guys are sick of hearing about it. But more than 100 city and school employees in Milford learn hands-only CPR, which is a really vital thing that you may need sometimes. May need it to save a loved one. Story about a rescue, and this is one of those great coincidence things where Milford firefighters were drilling with a new jet ski in the Long Island Sound and found out that not far from where they were, 2 people were clinging to, I believe, a buoy, a marker buoy, having been overswept by the incoming tide.
yeah, we talked about that on Coffee Break last week. Really serendipitous that the rescue crews happened to be out there and had no idea that these people were clinging to a buoy at the time. So very lucky for those people. They were in good health and pulled out. Well, I'm taking a look at the Darien Times and beautiful photos from the Rowayton Civic Association's September by the Sea tour, which gave attendees an exclusive peek inside the homes of Belle Island. So really beautiful photos on the front page there. And then big news, town settles housing civil rights lawsuit. The town of Darien settled a lawsuit against the Planning and Zoning Commission for a payment of $150,000. The attorney for the plaintiff has confirmed to the Darien Times. So there's a lot more on that story there. And a story about Darien students' Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, Connecticut Mastery Tests, and Connecticut Academic Performance Test results. So that's always fun. There's a lot of stories on that this week in our papers about the town test results.
Yes. Taking a look at Lewisboro, a lot of things to celebrate there as volunteers and donors are celebrating their progress at the Levy Preserve. A Lewisboro resident publishing her first novel, a oncology massage practice opening up, and the annual library fair at the Lewisboro Library. That is Saturday, September 26th at Onatru Farm Park.
Nice. Well, the Monroe Courier this week, of course, a major story that just broke yesterday was that many area town police departments, Darien, Easton, Monroe, Trumbull, and Wilton, will pay $1.25 million to settle a lawsuit stemming from a fatal 2008 police raid in Easton. This is what many have called like a botched SWAT-style raid, where one man was shot and killed, and there had previously been a settlement paid for that. And this was with the man who actually was living, the owner of the house at the time.
He survived the incident. And
right.
This is his end. The family of the man who was killed by police.
Right. And
was the $3.5 million.
Right. And they had raided that house based on a tip from someone, but the actual raid only yielded a small amount of drugs and no weapons.
Yeah, that story has gotten a lot of play, and it's
right.
Really, that was in headlines before a lot of the questions being raised recently about police overreacting.
Yes, right. It's a good point.
Taking a look at Stratford, we look back at last Wednesday's referendum in which unendorsed candidates ruled the night and basically won virtually all of the races amid light turnout, but most of those candidates are opposed to the sale of the sewer plant, and it raises questions. Do the results of the primary give a glimpse at what might happen in November with both the municipal elections and the referendum on selling the sewer plant to the Greater New Haven Regional Water Authority?
Yeah.
Also, and these stories in towns always draw an emotional reaction, and this one being near a cemetery is going to draw even more of one. There is a tree, a limb fell off it. It abuts the cemetery at Christ Church.
Yes, we also talked about that on a coffee break yesterday.
And that's when you know there was someone laid to rest, so they could always be under that tree.
Mm-hmm. It's an old tree, and obviously some people don't want to lose it, but I guess there's some concerns it could fall at any time and really injure somebody. That's a serious thing. Well, I am taking a look at the front page of the New Canaan Advertiser this week, and a couple stories that we've already talked about on Coffee Break, which 4 promoted in historic police ceremony last week, and that included the naming of the department's first female lieutenant, as well as some other members being promoted, and of the canine officer receiving a award.
I'll have to read that. I know most of those folks.
Yeah, and then more of a story we just discussed a little bit earlier, which parents are part of the youth substance abuse problem and solution, according to officials working in the New Canaan Coalition there. So, yeah, lots of good stuff going on.
Taking a look at the Shelton Herald, a summer job changes a local girl's life. She got recognition for her work in the office of California State Senator Patricia Bates. Small business tour visits Charter Firearms in Shelton. A taste of food trucks in the valley. That's an event I have to get to at some point.
I know. We talked a lot about it on the broadcast side, but I didn't get a chance to make it. It's a great event.
And another story about Project Connect, which links the Kennedy Center clients with pets that need adopting, and that's going to be kind of a cool story. Looking forward to reading that one.
Very cool. And just want to take a quick look at the front page of the Easton Courier. Brian Hafele took some great photos at the Revolutionary War skirmish that was staged in Easton this past weekend. Very cool. They put a lot of effort into it. And, of course, another story we mentioned today was a jury indicting Navin, the son of the missing couple, faces gun charges. He's appearing in court today on that. So there will be updates on that at eastoncourier.com.
That story also making news in Weston. Another feature is about the visit by a family to the Country Music Hall of Fame and seeing a plaque for the youngest's great-great-grandfather, one of country music's first stars. Mm-hmm. Kind of a very cool story there.
Very cool.
It must be really awe-inspiring to see a relative in a Hall of Fame.
That's pretty incredible. Well, John, thanks for taking a look at the front pages with me. Yankee Fisherman's coming up at 1. What are you going to be talking about today?
We are going to take a look back at the Catskill Fly Fishing Center and Museum Summerfest, and that includes the 99th birthday celebration for Agnes Van Putt. And Agnes basically holds the front office and gift shop and everything together. And when you say 99 years young, you mean it with Agnes. She does not mess around. She's great. And look at some of the exhibitors there at Summerfest.
Right. And I just want to mention, coming up right after Yankee Fisherman, 2 o'clock, HAN Arts and Leisure. They're going to be talking movies with the real dad, Mark Schumann, which is always fun. And then they have a special guest from the Trumbull High School Marching Band's Fall Classic, which is coming up this weekend. That draws lots of regional talent. So they're going to be discussing that as well. That's at 2 o'clock live. So definitely check it out. We're going to wrap up this edition of your coffee break, though. I will be back tomorrow at 11. So for everyone on the HAN Network team, thanks for watching.
This is the HAN Network, the leader for local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in Southwestern Connecticut and beyond.